trust. And as you know, I talked to a lot of people, but Alan York specifically, he came up. We right now feel that Alan York would be a number 2 here in Springfield, that we feel Columbus is going to have to spend some money to get what they consider to be a solid number 1 for us, who would be number 3 in the organization to be called up in the event of an injury in Columbus. So I think you're going to see them fire their bullets on free agency day on July 1 to try and land that really solid, proven AHL number 1 goaltender that they feel comfortable could be a call-up guy for them, and yet let Alan York battle for that number 1 slot. Just because the guy comes in sort of as a number 1 tag doesn't mean that Yorkie can't try and beat him out for the number 1 position. And Alan showed a lot of promise, but I always like to take, and I said this on the conference call, that Alan York still hasn't, to me, proven himself in the American Hockey League. That takes more than just a handful of games, and I think he looks like he's got all the traits of being a very solid goaltender, but time will tell, and he'll get that opportunity, and we'll have another goaltenders here as well that would be a 5th in the organization that will push Yorkie for the number 2 job, and if he doesn't make it, we'll have down in the ECHL playing, so it gives us some depth at that position. But goaltending has certainly is going to be a focus of Columbus here on free agency.
Damon Markowitz along with Bruce Landon, another edition of Falcons Weekly Webisodes as we come to you from Maplegate Rehab, downtown Springfield, the corner of Maple Street and State Street, a stone's throw from the Mass Mutual Center, and a place that, just to touch upon the tornado relief, because that's something that goes on every week here, not that far from the path that went through the south end here in Springfield. If you walk over, you can see where Stockbridge Court is and just how close it was. But something touching upon the tornado relief is the jersey auction that continues to go on. Had some questions. Right now there was 10 up there, which I think end at the conclusion of tonight. And then we've got some more in your office that we're going to throw back up there. I think that's really important to emphasize that it wasn't just the 10. We've got 11, 12, 13 more to go up for auction.
Absolutely. The eBay experts, I guess, had told us that you're better off putting a handful of jerseys up at a time rather than putting all 20 or 22, 23, whatever it is we have up at once. So the response has been good. Will be certainly some that probably haven't been bid on will be going back up, and eventually they'll all be sold, and all the profits are going certainly to the Tornado Relief Fund. It's just one more thing we're doing to try and help out. And I know we're sitting in Tom Valentine's business here, and I understand Tom has some personal property downtown that was damaged by the tornado. So some way, somewhere along the way, you know somebody's been affected by that horrible storm back on, I think it was June 1st. So we're happy to do our part, and I can't thank my friends around the AHL and National Hockey League enough for right away responding and getting the jerseys to us so we can make this part of our fundraising efforts.
Absolutely. And something that came over the weekend here, an event that happened over the weekend, I think most people in Western Mass probably went to it. The Boston Bruins celebrated the Stanley Cup Championship on Saturday. We're at Fenway Park on Sunday. And, of course, a lot of topics on the Facebook chat this week as far as how do we get the Stanley Cup here in Western Mass. One idea that was thrown out there was getting the Stanley Cup at the Mass Mutual Center to have a big party and celebrate it that way. Realistically, what are the chances of something like that?
Probably slim to none. I mean, you got to be honest. You know, there's a lot of places for that Stanley Cup to travel. As you know, every player has a chance to take that Stanley Cup to their hometown or wherever they want to take it. I'm sure the Boston Bruins organization have a lot of other plans for the Stanley Cup. You know, we're not affiliated with them. I'm sure Providence is probably thinking the same thing. How can they get the Stanley Cup for a day or for a couple of days? You never say never. You know, things happen. Maybe down the road, some things will be put together. But I would say on the priority list of where that Stanley Cup is going, Springfield wouldn't even be in the mix at all right now.
You mentioned Providence, and another topic that came up this week were individual mini ticket packages, which obviously the Falcons, we've got a ton of them starting at 7 games and working your way up. This is kind of a recycled idea, I guess. Someone had an idea as far as putting together plans specifically for, I'll use Providence because of the craze right now on the Bruins. Right. Is there a chance to just have a Providence Bruins package and bang that out this summer?
If you look what Providence does, and people who go on their website, that's how they sell their business. I mean, they really sell packages, and they sell any package you want to buy. And certainly these are things we talk about once our schedule comes out. And again, everything's schedule driven. When our schedule comes out, we've talked internally as you know, in our office about having a divisional package, or whether it be a Connecticut package or a Providence package. So these are all things once we know our schedule's out, when we play them. And yes, we will be definitely designing a couple other packages for people who can only go on certain nights and see certain games. That'll be something, again, will be driven once we see our schedule.
Damon Markowitz along with Bruce Landon. Again, another weekly webisode here coming to you from Maplegate Rehab on Maple Street, the corner of Maple and State Street here in downtown Springfield, a stone's throw from the Mass Mutual Center. Proud sponsor of the Falcons for several years. We thank Tom Valentine, Charlie McCarthy for allowing us in here today. And another topic that came up, and it's one I know you're going to love because you know the building very well, the old Coliseum. And there was an idea thrown out there to kind of generate some old interest. And some of the diehard fans of Springfield and the Indians was to do an alumni game at the old Coliseum. Just walk us through if that's even possible. I don't even know if there's an ice plant system in the Coliseum now, but an idea thrown out there.
Well, it's a great idea, but you'd never play at the Coliseum because they don't have ice, number one. And you know, years ago, quite candidly, Wayne LaChance and I, when Wayne was a partner here of mine back in 94, 95, 96, we actually went over and talked to Wayne McCary at the Big E about, you know, were they ever going to put ice, and we had some plans there, and in the eventual, you know, always thinking ahead if there was things that would become a problem here with our lease here, would there be an option ever to go back to the Coliseum, and they made it very clear that they had no interest in putting ice back in the Coliseum at that time. Now I'm dating myself, that was back in 97, 98, somewhere in that area, but they don't have ice. They have so many other shows, horse shows, trade shows, you know, all kinds of different things. So playing a game at the Coliseum would not ever, that I know of, be anything could happen. Just simply they don't have the facility for it. Have an alumni game here at the Mass Mutual Center. Certainly those are things that we could tie in, as you know, and I think we announced last week. We're going to be doing these three sort of heritage hockey nights in Springfield, and maybe one of those games could be tied into some kind of alumni game. But with all these things, people have to understand too, and you know, they're great ideas, and as you know, we sit in our room and we come up with hundreds of ideas. You can want to execute a certain number of them, and with all of them comes a certain expense. I mean, just having the games where you bring in players in from out of town, there's a major expense goes with that. So you have to evaluate everything from the expense, the return on investment, what's it going to do for us in the way of ticket sales. But they're all great ideas, and we can take some of them and work with them. Obviously, we can't do them all.
Yeah. Another weekly webisode here. Damon Markowitz along with Bruce Landon, our weekly chat. Once again, don't forget about our social media streams. Go to falconsahl.com. Look at our official Facebook, official Twitter, updated on a regular basis. Just working hard here. Stephen Hanjack on the Twitter, myself on the Facebook, just making sure everyone's informed here this summer. And Bruce, another topic that came up, and then we'll leave you with this topic because it's something that's been out there online. I don't think it's been official, but it's been on there online in a couple articles. People catching wind of a possible name of the Winnipeg or / Manitoba Falcons. And someone asked me point blank, would we change our name if that happens? I didn't have an answer. Just curious to see what your thoughts.
The Atlanta Falcons going to change their name?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I actually received a call from a newspaper writer in Winnipeg and asked us if we had the licensed trademark for the name Falcons, which we don't. We have the trademark for that logo you have right there, registered trademark. We don't own the name Falcons. You know, if you look through sports, Fresno Falcons, Minnetonka Falcons, I mean, Falcons used in a lot of different places. If Winnipeg opts to go with the Falcons, they can do that. The only thing they can't use is anything that looks like our logo without getting permission from us, and certainly they wouldn't have to do that. They'd come up with something. But I've heard all different rumors out of Winnipeg as to what that team's going to be named, and I would expect somewhere in the very near future they're going to announce it. And if it's Falcons, great for them. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. Like I said, as long as they don't try to use our logo, which I know they won't.
Well, Bruce, the season finals are officially over. The Calder Cup's been celebrated. The Stanley Cup's been celebrated. Only a little over a week away from the 4th of July. Just what's next here? I know you've got some Hilton Head meetings coming up, and what's kind of the next wave here on the front office side as we get into late June and July?
Well, obviously we have to continue to push, and I don't want to sound like the salesman all the time, but it's part of our job here. We have to continue to try and grow our season ticket base, and not only our full season tickets, but all the packages as well. We're up to about 100 new FSCs, full season ticket equivalents, as of Friday. We still have a lot of renewals to come in, which we're around 50% on renewals right now. They usually come in the second half of the summer as we get into the fall. But if we can clip around about an 87 to 90% renewal rate, which is standard in our league and something we've done in the past, and our goal is to add that 300 or 400 new season tickets, it'll put us on pretty solid ground going into the season. But it's a lot of work, and right now our focus going through the rest of the summer is certainly on the sales side, both on the ticket and on our corporate sponsorships, which we're doing very well in again. People are still supporting this franchise. On the business side, it still remains sales driven for the most part.